Good morning, everyone. How's everyone doing in this new year?
Good morning.
Hi, Rosalba. I don't think I've had the pleasure of meeting you in person yet. How are you?
I am good. I'm over at Anderson Elementary.
Anderson. Awesome. Awesome. And Amber and Edmundo, we are going to give everyone about one more minute to get started. I did not get the memo to host sessions in the afternoon. So when I created this one, I already had it scheduled for the morning. Towards the end of the morning, but I wanted to give everyone an opportunity to register. And when I was later given the information to have the sessions in the afternoon, it was too late to schedule. And I understand that other people may have things on their schedule, so I did not want to change anything. So thank you for joining me today. We will get started. This session is also being recorded, so it will be available for you to share with other members of your team because there's going to be actually some more information coming. This is going to be an initiative throughout the entire second grade. So everyone will need this information. But you guys are getting a jump start because you are on. All right, so good morning. Happy New Year. Welcome to Math Journaling in a Second Grade Classroom. At this time, we have met Rosalba already, but if you don't mind unmuting yourself, please introduce yourself in the chat box. Tell us your name. I'm sorry, unmute yourself. The chat box is if there are many participants, but there's 4 of us today, so we can unmute. Tell us your name, what grade and where you teach. Obviously, this is second grade, but someone else, may be joining us. And something you want to try for the remainder of this school year in respect to math journaling. So, Rosalba, can we start with you?
Sure. My name is Rosalva. I'm actually the math interventionist over at Anderson Elementary. So I saw that this was a journaling session. I was like, I have to take it because I noticed that when I walk into the classrooms, they're not really using the journals as they should. And so I just want to get more information to send back to my teachers. And I'm excited to
Excellent.
get started.
Awesome. So, my most previous role was at the campus level as a math interventionist, skills, support that role where you kind of it's undefined. Um, And what I'm going to present today is actually what I used to begin the process of my teachers um, journaling. And this was at the primary level. So this was with my kindergarten teachers because they were concerned about the students' fine motor skills, etc. So this will be really beneficial to you. And Rosalva, especially because you're really interested in moving forward, I would love to connect with you and support you more one-on-one with that because you're already doing the work. I think I could offer some great assistance.
That sounds great, Stephanie.
Awesome.
Any help you can give me to help our teachers, I would love it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, Amber, are you available to unmute and introduce yourself with us today?
Give me just a second. I have extra people in my room. Give me just a second.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We'll shoot over to Edmundo. Are you available?
Hi there.
Hi.
I just moved from school, so I'm new in second grade now. I've been doing first grade for 2 years.
Okay, so you're new to second. I'm just taking notes. And I don't know if you guys can see me, but I can only see the screen I'm sharing on. So I apologize for that disconnect. And what school are you at, Edmundo?
Smith Elementary.
Okay. And where are you coming from?
I can run.
I can row. Okay. So brand new, as in today, brand new?
As a couple of weeks, I changed after Thanksgiving.
Okay. Yeah, because of the numbers.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. I heard that would happen, but you're my first person to actually see it happen. All right. So awesome. Welcome to second grade. And Amber, if you're not available yet, no big deal.
I'm available now.
Okay, no worries.
So I'm Amber. I teach second, and I am at Meyer Elementary.
Meyer. Awesome. Awesome. So are you new to second? You've been in second for a few years. You've tried math journaling.
I've done second before, but for the past 3 years, I was in third. So
Okay.
I actually moved down. And I taught all reading for the past 3 years. So math
New.
is new to me all over again.
Yeah. Totally get it. So just a little bit of background. My director came to me a few weeks before Thanksgiving, and it has always been her desire to do a math journaling series. Obviously, because of the cross curricular connection, our students writing more, all of the different reasons behind it. And I've always been passionate about math journaling. So she had the question of, there are funds currently available to support every second grade classroom with a class set of, and I did not put this in the presentation, but I will follow up with that, a class set of notebooks to actually start the math journaling, because one of the concerns has been, well, teachers don't always have enough for one per student. So with that came some accountability on my part, that if she was going to purchase the second grade class set of notebooks for every second grade classroom in the district, that we needed to host a 3-part professional development series, today being part 1, part 2, and 3 taking place in February and March. Those dates are flexible. And then supporting our second grade classes. We arrived at second grade because I'm thinking, and Amber, you are coming from third. Rosalva, I'm not sure if you deal with the testing grades or not, but introducing math journaling at this time of the year for our third, fourth, and fifth grade testers, I felt based on experience that this would not be the best time, given all of the COVID-19, virtual, etc. So we decided to start with second because our second graders are a little more independent, especially at this time of the year developmentally. And our hope is to start next school year, 21-22, with a heavy implementation of math journaling. And then the second graders from this school year will be third graders. And so we'll continue to add on. Hopefully, Rosalva, that'll help you at your campus level when you say, yes, this is a district-wide initiative, and you have that support to carry over. So I hope that makes a little bit of sense. Rosalva, I see you are unmuted if you would like.
Yes, I think that makes a lot of sense. I do agree with starting with second grade right now, because third, fourth, and fifth right now are just testing and getting ready for that. So I agree. And because they miss so much of the second half of first grade, I think that's a great place to start. And I'm excited because that's where most of my focus has been right now, is second grade, getting them caught up because they miss so much. And I'm a firm believer of journals. I've taught third grade math. And so I always did journaling. And when I don't see it done in the classroom, I'm like, how can I help? So when I saw this, I'm like, I'm jumping in. I'm going to cancel whatever I have for this hour, because I want to be a part of this training so I can help those second grade teachers get where they need to be.
Awesome. And I am also looking for sort of like model classrooms or model schools. So as I said earlier, I would love to come out and continue to support you, and we can sort of have a model of, and it's not a perfect model, but just a working model of what it looks like, what are the possibilities. It just helps when teachers can see it in action. All right.
That's good.
All right, we're going to move on. Uh-oh. All right, so let me introduce myself formally. My name is Stephanie Vann. I I keep saying I'm new, but I don't think it really matters. I started in August. I'm the elementary math curriculum specialist, and you can always reach me at svan@springisd.org, or I am a big fanatic of Twitter and just sharing the information. In fact, I will share our session today, and you can follow me at Stephanie G. Vann. So if any of you are on Twitter, please follow me and I'll do the same. If you're not, I know that it's something that's pretty new for some people, but it is an excellent networking tool. There are things that I see on there that it's great to see what other campuses are doing, other school districts, other math curriculum specialists in Region 4. I always see amazing things that my friends share, so it's just a great connector. All right, so our norms for today, we're all following them, but just for consistency, please mute your microphone when not speaking. Use a headset, which I did not realize how beneficial that was, but when you're in a shared environment, it definitely helps. Light your face and not your background. I can't see your background right now because I'm presenting, but it is always nice to be able to see the person, even if our background can be a little chaotic. Please ask questions in the chat or await Q&A time. And because we are such a small group, I'm actually going to bypass that norm. If you have something to say, please unmute yourself. I have my toolbox over here, but I may not always see when someone unmutes. So absolutely feel free to unmute and jump in. All right, so earlier I mentioned about the 3-part PD series. That is a model from our workforce department. And the goal, and you may have seen this with other professional development opportunities shared this year, the goal is to have a, a, a series of opportunities where participants can go back, implement, and have this sort of cohort throughout the process. There is going to be an artifact that's due at the end of the school year or on March 1st. That's pretty flexible. And honestly, that's going to be your math journal. It's nothing that you would not do. So today in part 1, we're going to preview the 3-part series, and we're going to set the foundation of implementing journaling, which is very, very huge. And I think that now, as we've stated earlier, is a really great time because it's the start of the 2nd semester. So it's not like you're trying to do this in March or in October. It's right at the beginning of the semester. On February 1st, and I'll poll you guys at the end to see if these dates still work. We're going to review the distribution of all notebooks to 2nd grade classes. So as I stated, my director and I will be delivering those notebooks to all of the campuses, and we're going to check on in-classroom implementation. So, everyone will come back, share that feedback. We'll give more substance to our series. And then part 3, we're going to discuss how to conclude our 2021 math journaling experience and create an action plan for our 21-22 implementation. Are there any questions, comments, concerns about the 3-part series? And do these dates work for the individuals on the call?
Stephanie, because the other schools are not here, are they still going to be held responsible to do this?
So my understanding as my role in curriculum is that the resources we provide are just that, resources.
Okay.
My understanding is that, we will provide the notebooks, we will provide the professional development, and the support, but as far as requiring, that is always a campus decision.
Okay.
But I'm always willing to come out and support you. And again, going back to that, Twitter, when we're sharing, that's sort of what generates people's buy-in.
And these next sessions, are they during the day also?
So They will be either 4 p.m. or 3:30. We typically do them at the end of the day. Today, obviously because it's a PD day, and again, my error with scheduling it a little early, but it's typically between 4 and 5 if those times work well. I try to do 3:30, but I know that some individuals are still in the middle of dismissal, but if it's too late, then I know people get tired after a long day, so I'm always open to feedback.
Okay, our campus meetings are every Monday after school, and the first both fall on a Monday. So
Yes.
I
Okay.
might be able to sneak away and tell my principal that I'm in this training with you. But that's my only concern, is that that's when our campus meetings are.
Okay. Um, would Tuesdays work, February 2nd and March 2nd?
For me, yes. I don't know about the others.
Okay. The others on the call, do you have an objection to February 2nd and March 2nd?
I'm available.
Okay. All right. So I will make that change, and you'll also see that in Eduphoria. Okay. Thank you for your feedback. This doesn't work if I don't have feedback, so I really appreciate it. All right, so what are our objectives for today? Our learning objective, just like in any classroom, it's important that we start this way, is to understand how to implement math journaling in a second grade math classroom using the Spring ISD curriculum in a meaningful way to impact positive retention and application of learning. Our language objective is to discuss core content curriculum, resources, and strategies, i.e. math journaling, that can be incorporated into your daily routines. So what are our goals for today? First, what is math journaling? We want to define math journaling, evaluate where participants are in the implementation, and preview our 3-part series and foundation of implementing journaling. We're going to review best practices, consider the various tools, resources, management, and structures that need to be in place for a successful implementation of math journaling in both the face-to-face and virtual setting. And we want to launch and review our implementation plan. Plan how you will implement math journaling in the second semester of this school year. And plan activities to support social emotional learning virtually. That's really big because obviously everyone's dynamics in their classroom looks different. Some of us are teaching virtual and in person simultaneously. Some of us have a rotation schedule. So whatever we do, we have to keep in mind that we are still supporting our virtual learners. Okay, so what is math journaling? We are going to watch and take notes and prepare to share 3 takeaways. So everyone will be asked to share 3 takeaways on Reagan Tunstall's Guided Math Second Grade. Previously, I trained heavily on the guided math framework. I know that that's not something that is really big in spring at the moment, and that's okay. Reagan Tunstall uses her guided math framework, but within her framework, she has a wonderful series on math journaling. I've actually used a lot of her resources to plan summer camp when I was in Aldine ISD, and I have a relationship with her where she will come in. I may even ask her to come in on February 2nd or March 2nd to share some of that expertise. So we're going to watch a video, and please be prepared to share 3 takeaways.
Math Journal is absolutely.
Was everyone able to hear that? You should. I just want to be sure.
Yes,
Okay.
I was.
And I'll turn the volume up some more. Oh, it's all the way up, actually. Let's. Oh. Yep. Okay. Volume is up.
Math Journal is absolutely one of the favorite workstations that we do in our room, but it does take some practice and some learning to get to where students are independent, especially in K1 and even second grade. I have math journals for the entire year for grades K to 4. And I'm also sharing a big freebie today with labels and tabs and cutting and folding and gluing practice to help you get started in your own classroom. So let's take a look at how we get started with math journaling. One of the main attributing factors to success in journaling in my classroom is having a teacher math journal that's already prepared. You can tell this one has seen some days. This is a second grade math journal, and it's just going to show the formatting of what the activities will look like. When I first started this, and this one is a few years old, so there have been updates to these. I was going week by week, if not day by day, to create that. But once you have it created, then it makes it really nice to be able to pull it out, put it under the document camera, and get started. So before we can use Math Journal as a workstation, we want to teach some different components of math journaling in a whole group setting. And one of those, of course, is how to cut on a dotted line. So I have included some cutting practice pages for you that you can do with your students, just to reiterate that we cut on dotted and we fold on solid. I've also included some folding practice pages where you can teach all the techniques of pinching and corners and all of those things. It's in the freebie for you, and I also have a blog post explaining that as well with the same information. Then there are some practice activities where we're going to highlight how we glue, how we cut, how we fold, and it's all built in there. There's also some goal setting with those same helpful tips that this is being explicitly taught. So I will model it, then they will do it. And we may only be doing one of the actual boxes. I give you more because everyone has different abilities. This would be more of a second, third, fourth version, and this is something I do day one because they are much more apt to cutting, folding, and responding. Another big and exciting freebie that is in the download is going to be different journal labels for the front. There's 5 different ones that you can choose from. So that's fun for setting up the cover of your math journal. I also, instead of a 1, this would be my mine, but I also put the student's name on a label here. So there's the title label and the student name label. Okay, so in the freebie, I'm so excited to show you this, and I only have one hand, so hang on. I have these awesome glue-in tabs that are going to help separate your journal into parts. This is something that's totally optional, and if you want it, I'm going to show you one that has tabs back here. This is Numbers Notebook, and this is kindergarten. And this poor baby has been through some love. So I used to do my tabs this way, numbers 0 to 10, then we have numbers 11 to 20, comparing numbers, and so on. But because they are like this, I was having to staple them to keep them from pulling off. So this is the new and improved version. And these are blank because I wanted to show you that they are editable, and you can put absolutely anything that you want there. You can even do it by grading period. You don't have to do it by math strand if you don't want to. So I would do something like number sense, measurement, shapes, whatever you want to do there. Or you can just say, boys and girls, we're going to put in the red tab and you maybe just want to put the month. It's totally flexible and it's editable. So the thing is with these, I'm so sorry, they glue in this way, so the tab is not going to pull off. There's no staple needed, and it makes it very sturdy. So I'm excited about this update to bring to you, and it's in this freebie file only. So whether you own Numbers Notebook or not, you will be able to go get these and edit them to perfection. So that's in there, and I wanted you to see. I chose to run them in, rainbow order, but you do you. It's awesome. Okay, so another thing I want to talk about is what is the difference between Math Journal and Numbers Notebook. I get this all the time, and I want to explain it for you. Math Journal is spiral review. So that means that I'm going to emphasize a particular strand, such as the first one being number sense in most grade levels for K to 2. And then it also will spiral review previously learned skills. Now for the first one, obviously for number sense, we are brand new to the year. This is our first strand, so it's all going to be mostly about number sense. But in the subsequent volumes for Math Journal, you will have a focus, and then you will see spiral review of different standards. So this is because when I send them out to stations and I'm still teaching a brand new concept, I want them to continue to practice and apply what they've already been exposed to and be reminded of what they know, and then connecting that to the new learning. So Math Journal spiral reviews. Numbers Notebook is going to stick to one math strand for the entire volume. So if it says numbers 0 to 10, then all of the activities in that volume, and I'm sorry, these have seen some days, they are all going to be about that same strand. And then when I get to the next strand, it's going to go into that particular, all of them are going to match that strand. So you're going to get 25 activities on comparing numbers, or 25 activities on measurement. Poor baby. So I hope this is helping to make your decision. Also in Numbers Notebook, this is a TEK, but there's TEKs and then there's Common Core. So if you like having the standard right on it, then you might want the Numbers Notebook. If you like having all of it matchy-matchy, then you might like the Numbers Notebook. If you want spiral review and you're not worried about having the standard right on the page, then the Math Journal sets might be more for you. Okay, another awesome thing about the freebie is that we have given you labels for having a cleanup.
Okay, I am going to pause there. We had someone join us, and excuse me, I am in between multiple screens, so it's kind of hard to see everyone that jumps in, but I believe Mary joined us. I hope she is still on. Mary, if you are on, would you mind unmuting yourself and introducing yourself to the rest of us, if you're able?
Yes, hi.
Hi.
I am Mary Kalibi, and I am a second grade teacher, and math is becoming my life. I love it. And the journaling process, I would like to learn how to do that, as well as we've always done it in reading classes. I really want to get a handle on it in math. So I'm glad to
Awesome.
be here. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. What campus are you at?
Link Elementary.
Link. Okay, awesome. I was at, goodness, so many campuses. Which campus is right down the street from Link?
That's a good question, because I'm not from this area.
Thompson? I think Thompson.
Okay.
So anyway, I was at Thompson for a few days and passed by Link every single day. So I'm starting to make connections on where campuses are.
Yes.
Welcome. You haven't missed too much. The part you came in on, we were all watching Reagan Tunsil's she is big on guided math, but a portion of her guided math is her math journal. And the way she implements it is the way I've honestly used it for many years, because a lot of it is already there, provided. Um, all of the students that I've used it with love it. All of the teachers love it. They do bring in other activities that they find or create, but for the most part, it's a really great guide to just get started. A part of the conversation that you missed is that we're already in the second half of the year. So I definitely want to give you something that you can take and implement rather than having to find something from scratch. And so the rest of us were watching that video and taking notes and being prepared to share our 3 biggest takeaways. So I'm not sure if you were able to get enough of that, but I'm sure when we begin to share, you will you'll make some connection.
I
Before,
am.
go
I
ahead.
am familiar with Reagan Tunstall.
Okay.
My campus in Humble they were becoming very big in using her methods. So I am familiar to an extent.
Okay, awesome. Awesome. And I'm going to share this presentation with everyone, but before we share, just so that I'm sure that'll come up, I've linked the access to her second grade math, getting started. And so that's already here for you. It is a lot of paper. It is a lot of printing. It is a lot of organizing and giving all of the students their sheet for the day or their packet of journal entries for the week. Um, Rosalva, that's something that as a skills specialist on campus, that was something I helped and provided for my teachers. But the benefit of that, especially in second grade, our kids are just not all ready to copy everything down and have it done so quickly before that takes over your entire math block. So anyway, I'll stop talking, and if we can share our big takeaways, I have 8. And so I have a little tally mark to see if we come up with the same ones. So I'll go with Amber first, if you're okay with sharing. And it's okay if it's not 3. This is a safe environment.
Well, okay. So come to find out, I've already kind of been using this, but instead of calling it math journaling, I use it as an interactive notebook.
Okay.
One thing that I did kind of find is that it was very time consuming with like the cutting and the gluing and making sure it's cut and folded and this, that, and the other. So I did like how she said that you need to, I guess, practice whole group before you maybe do it as independent. But could you still do the journaling as a whole group versus having them do it independent? Do you think that would still be?
Yeah. So to your first point that you call it an interactive notebook, those words
Right.
are all synonymous, right? It's
Right.
just math journal, math notebook, interactive notebook. They're all the same. So
Okay.
you're already on it, which is amazing. Kudos to you. Now, the second part of your statement, which I think if we go back to Rosalva's statement about our kids, our second graders having missed so much of first grade, right?
Mm-hmm.
They still miss a lot of the primary instruction, that cutting, gluing. So unfortunately, I do think some things are going to take a little bit more time.
Mm-hmm.
As you heard Reagan say, you definitely want to start whole group so that you are modeling those expectations for your students. And it's
Right.
okay that if you've already done this since August and you maybe take now, our first 5 days to maybe say, you know what, we're going to practice folding, we're going to practice cutting, we're going to practice gluing. And with students, once we explicitly teach something, we then hold them accountable for it, right? So I do hear your concern. The cutting was taking a while, the gluing was taking a while, but my experience has been, as I start and set an expectation, my students just get better and faster with it over time. So that heavy work is going to go in the beginning, that cutting, gluing, definitely by March, end of February, we should have, we should be going through that a little bit faster. Another point is maybe breaking up the activity throughout the day, throughout the week. So let's say you have a particular sheet, and that sheet requires cutting, gluing, then completing the activity, right? So it just depends on the rotation you have in your class. This is an example. Well, let's say on Monday, everyone's going to cut and glue, right? Like that's the only expectation. By Wednesday, everyone should be moving on to the activity. Friday, those who were able to cut, glue, and complete the activity have a chance to color, while it gives the opportunity for some of my other friends to catch up, right? So there are a lot of different ways that you can make it work. It's definitely not going to be something that students can just do on their own without that guidance.
Okay. And then I also like that she said that she uses it more as a spiral review for it too. Those are
Excellent.
three big ones.
Okay, so I had review also. And Amber, what I hear you saying is that you use it as a workstation.
I haven't used it as a workstation yet.
Okay.
I've used it mostly as like whole group is like an activity for like the day. Say like, I know in our unit guys, there's like those supplemental days, which are review days. I sometimes take those days to do interactive notebook activities.
Okay. I do know another big focus for my director, and it's something that I believe in, is workstations. I know that where we are right now may not be optimal for everyone in everyone's classroom, but we definitely want to push towards that. Just a thought to consider. Okay. All right, Amber, thank you for sharing. Edmundo, would you like to share any of your takeaways? And it's okay if you're not available. I know we have a lot on our campuses. All right, I will move on to Rosalba. Do you have some takeaways to share?
Yes. You said about workstations. That's my big project. Is I'm redoing all of kindergarten math workstations. So we're trying to get it, from the primary up. But I've taught every grade level in elementary, and I like the cutting practice prior to the journaling. I really like that because my kindergarten journals and my pre-K journals were a mess. And sometimes I had to have, go home, and I was just a perfectionist back then. Now I just let that stuff go.
Absolutely. You're like, student work.
But back then, I used to want to go home and cut for them and glue and undo the pages because of, their cutting and their gluing. So I really like that. And it looks like she takes a lot of time to actually teach them, showing how to fold. And that was one of the good takeaways from that.
Can I jump in and say that one of my takeaways coincides with that, is that skills must be explicitly taught. Yeah. So the cutting, the folding on the dotted line, right? All of those things that we always take for granted that students know, and subsequently reduce our instructional time, right? So if we kind of invest in teaching some of those skills explicitly, whether whole group or I pull a small group that's continuing to struggle, I think that definitely helps with the speediness of the process.
Yes, even as a primary teacher, I always had a cutting workstation because I wanted them to practice their fine motors while learning to cut. So that was one thing that I had to, because I knew that goes hand in hand with a lot of stuff.
Absolutely.
She said that she uses the math journal as a spiral review, but I kind of used it more as an introduction to what we were doing. And then and then I told them to take that journal to their workstation. So it wasn't actually a workstation per se, but they took it as a sort of a resource to help them with whatever was in that workstation.
One
So,
second, I have something in the chat. I just want to make sure
okay,
what happened with bilingual students. Is there a Spanish version? Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
that's okay. Um, and then the two different notebooks, like the math journal and then the numbers notebook.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess we've just been combining it all together,
Right.
right? And she separates it. So what do you think, that we should we start separating things?
So I definitely think that we are, let's not forget, we are still in the middle of a pandemic, right?
Right.
So my motto for the last 2 years has been less is more. And I think that it is best that we focus on the math
The
journal.
math journal. Yes.
And I think that the spiraling review is the better approach to using the math journal, because then our students can definitely complete those activities independently. When they are new concepts, and I know you've used it in the past and every classroom has different dynamics, but generally, when we introduce new concepts, it takes time for our students to learn those concepts and to then be able to apply them independently, especially in a journal setting. I like the idea of a review because, as Amber was saying, that then reduces the time, right? So if it's something that we've done before, I can then hold my students accountable and say, scholars, we've done this before. This should not take you 20 minutes. You know how to count and circle the number of ducks, or whatever the activity is. I definitely like it as a review. And the way our unit guides and our scope and sequences are built out, a lot of our skills build on each other. So it has that 0 to 10, or 0 to 5, then 0 to 10, then 0 to 20. So I think that review is definitely the best approach for at least the remainder of this school year.
Okay. And one more takeaway was the organization of it all. I
Awesome.
did
have
like
that.
the way she had her tabs, because if you've taught primary, they just turn to whatever page it
Absolutely.
lands on, and they'll just stick it anywhere. So I like that she color codes them, and she'll say, okay, behind the red tab or behind the yellow tab.
Yeah. And I added flexibility to that. For some reason, I felt that the color coding gave me that flexibility or the color pages gave me that flexibility to say, turn to your blue, turn to your green,
Right.
or if, maybe my students were ready, it gave me that differentiation, to be able to label each tab. Or again, if I needed to break it all the way down to one of my students that's just not there, your red tab, so it
Right.
had differentiation built into it.
Those are my takeaways.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. Mary, and I know we just had someone else join. I know you joined pretty late, and we have about 15 minutes, not late. You joined when you joined. But if you have anything to share, I definitely want to give you the opportunity to do so at this time.
I have used journaling as a way for them to, or I guess as a spiral review. The problem I'm having now is setting it up. And I can't do 2 journals just because limited resources for all of my students. So I would just use the 1 journal. I have a math journal now. It's just not as interactive with all the fun stuff,
So to answer your question
with
about
my at-home kids.
So we are hopefully going to get through all of that. So to answer one part, the district, the notebooks are actually here in our office. The district is providing every second grade classroom with a class set of journals.
Nice.
So even with that class set, I would still recommend doing 1. And the freebie I am going to share with you has a lot of that setup It's literally what to do on day 1 of math journaling, what to do on day 2. And it does have some of that fun stuff. I always Another thing I did, just thinking about your campus dynamics, I know everyone is has limited personnel, but sometimes those parents that always say, "Hi, I'm willing to do more. Just let me know what you need me to do. I'm at home." I would send home things. I actually had my PTA ladies would come in, and I had to do it for all kindergarten classes, and I had 22 kindergarten classes. So that's pretty much like a school. And so
Yeah.
everything would be, set out, and they would cut out the labels for me, and then I would just say, pass out here, this is for you, this is for you, etc. So I know all of our resources are limited right now, but just giving you ideas, those parents who are interested, some of the high schoolers can earn, extra credit, things like that can help you with the cutting and paste, with the cutting, to reduce time. Um, but I do want to move on to Edmundo's question about bilingual students and is there a Spanish version? So, as I stated previously, I've worked with Reagan on some of her materials because I planned summer camp for our English and our bilingual students, and she has translated a lot of her documents. So, I will check on that. Edmundo, I will actually email her right now for the Spanish version. It may or may not be available, as I know she was in the middle of getting those documents translated. The good thing, Edmundo, is that a lot of it is not word problems. A lot of it is, pictures, and the instructions can be given orally, and your students can still complete the task. So maybe not the entire packet will be in Spanish, but because a lot of it is picture-based, it should still be suitable for your classroom. But I will work on that and check in with you. All right, let's move on. So this is where I was going to put our top 6 takeaways. I will do that prior to sharing this with you after. All right, so let's review best practices. So this document, I'll give everyone an opportunity to read through it on your own, but it links to it. And the biggest takeaways on our best practices are some of the things that we've already said. Explicit directions and an example journal. So it is absolutely imperative that you have a teacher journal. Amber, do you currently have a teacher journal that you're modeling for your students?
Yes.
Okay, excellent, excellent. Now we know that yours may look strikingly different from your students, but having that journal completed ahead of time definitely helps students see the finished product and the vision that they need to have. Of course, some things won't look perfect, but it is a wonderful example. Again, going back to those explicit directions, you have to think about the dynamics of your classroom. If your classroom is full of students that can just kind of go with the flow and pick up the pace, then maybe you can kind of skip through some of those explicit directions. We know that our students missed a good chunk of first grade, and then if we account the summer slide, so we are pretty much teaching first graders, right? End of the year first graders or beginning of the year second graders. We have to think about them in that regard cognitively. And if we give explicit directions, and like I said earlier, we may want to break some of the activities apart just to get through it and not spend the entire math block on it. That's something that we should do. Another best practice is short, specific timeframes. So I know some of us were waiting until some of our review days that are built into the unit guides and spending those times on math journaling. My concern with that, and let me just say, a lot of the unit guides were already created, and so I'm learning and adopting them. But it would be best if we can build in maybe 5 to 10 minutes of math journaling 2 to 3 times a week instead of waiting at the end of the unit. Again, it depends on what works for your classroom, but just an idea to entertain is to have specific time frame, and it's 5-10 minutes. Once that time is up, you have to move on. Prepare for paper.
Stephanie,
Oh, yes.
do you think in the future they would have like a little section for journaling and maybe some like links where they can print some of that stuff off?
Absolutely. So that is technically my decision.
Okay.
But I have taken the perspective of I don't want to introduce too much change to our curriculum documents, especially since I was hired when teachers started, right? So it's not like I had time prior to that unit 1 to
Right.
implement some of those changes. And for consistency purposes, I want to learn the spring way, things like that. Definitely for um, next school year, my goal is to build in examples of workstation rotations and math journaling into the unit guide and explicitly indicating times. I don't have full control of that. That's information that has to get cleared with my director, area soup, chief, etc. But we know that that's best practices is having that journaling 2 to 3 times a week and having workstations 2 to 3 times a week. And my hope is to get approval to implement that. But I'm on board. I just need the go ahead.
Perfect.
So prepare for paper. If you're like me, whose mom is a teacher, and I came from Aldine where it was like, you better not print paper. We want everything super authentic. This may disrupt because to take some of that time away, you have to be prepared to print a lot and cut a lot and just paper everywhere. Mary, you mentioned the fun aspect of the journaling because it should be a time when, oh my gosh, math journal time. Your kids are like, oh my God, let me get my journal. Right? So, yes, on that yellow paper. Yes, on that blue paper. It's Valentine's. The next holiday is Valentine's. So, maybe a cute, it sounds silly, but a cute heart with the number 0 to 10, right? All of those things that we know, surprisingly, still excites our high schoolers and our teachers. It's nice to get something Valentine's theme in your box. So take that same account into when you prepare for your paper. I would print on pink the whole month, right? And so clearly you knew what month it was. And then colored paper in variety. So I'm pretty sure you've seen where even for reading, those of us who have taught reading before, in whether you've used balanced literacy or not, but during writing, right, we have pencils, we have markers, we have highlighters, we have sticky notes, all of the different variety of writing tools that can be explicit for journaling time, right? We use these only during journaling time. And that, again, creates that anticipation, that excitement, etc., for our students. So any questions, comments, concerns about best practices with math journaling? Okay, I know we have a few minutes and I want to get you out on time for lunch. All right, so,
One question.
Yes, ma'am.
When will the journals be delivered to our campuses?
So that's a tough question. I believe they're already at the building I'm at, which is at the Teach Up building. My understanding is that I can start delivering. My concern with that is we do have extra deadlines and things. So I don't have a firm date. I'm actually going to get clearance from my director to put that on my calendar next week. But we're currently working on the PBLs. And so those take precedence. I don't believe I can do like interdistrict delivery. I think it will need to be a one-on-one. So I'm hoping to get that within the next 2 weeks.
Okay.
And it does take time to go
I'm
to
willing to pick up Anderson's if that's a possibility.
Excellent. That is definitely a possibility.
Okay.
Let me write that down. And if you can probably do that today. I know it's a maybe an easygoing day for Anderson.
Mhm.
Okay. I have not put my eyes on them, but my director did say they were here.
Okay.
And by here, she could have meant warehouse. So let me double check on all of that. Again, I'm new, so I'm figuring everything out. Okay. All right. So now goal setting. Think about where you are. Amber, you have implemented it. But maybe today you've explored different ideas. Mary, you have a math journal, but you may take something new. So as you're thinking all of that, Edmundo, I'm not exactly sure where you are, and we have another person. Is it Galen or Jalen? She joined, right? Thinking about where you are. Rosalba, you're thinking about the entire campus. Based on everything we learned today, what does math journaling look like in your classroom? These are reflection questions. How will you take the information learned today to either implement or adjust the routines in your classroom? And how do I plan and prepare math journaling for both my in-person and virtual scholars? So I do want to give some time to discuss our virtual scholars. The number one solution to supporting our virtual scholars is planning and preparation, because I've been on enough campuses to know that our teachers who have virtual students set up packets, and our virtual students need to pick them up ahead of time, right? So that planning and preparing is already happening. And the same would have to happen for our virtual. It would just need to be that much more in advance. So maybe in your next packet for your virtual scholars, you insert their new notebook. And maybe it already has the labels on. If you're Rosalba and you're a perfectionist like me too, you probably already have them labeled. You probably already have the inserts and them folded, because your time with them online is limited. And so you kind of want to give them what they need so that when you're holding those live sessions, they can easily catch up. Also, keep in mind that, as we mentioned earlier, that social and emotional support for our virtual students. Introducing something like this that we haven't seen since we've been virtual in August is going to be a new dynamic for our virtual scholars. So taking that into account when planning. That's why earlier I mentioned, especially at the beginning, maybe just taking one activity and having that, definitely not the cutting, right? But a full activity, and taking that throughout the entire week. It may seem daunting, it may seem slow paced, but it'll give everyone that adjustment period, especially our virtual scholars. Okay. I do want to give everyone an opportunity to just give any last minute feedback. As stated, I am going to email everyone a copy of this presentation, which includes the freebie from Reagan Tunstall. And I am going to check on the Spanish translation for Edmundo. And is it Galen? I think it's Galen. I hope I said your name correct. You want to pick up for Burchett. So let me put that down. And if you know any other math interventionists, math coaches that want to pick up for their campuses, please spread the word. That would definitely help out.
I can pick up for Link.
Okay, Link will be Mary.
I'll do for Meyer.
Meyer is Amber.
Amber.
And we'll get an email with the location of where we're picking
Yes.
up. Okay.
Yes, because I'm not sure. She said they're here, but I doubt that means that all 4,000 notebooks are physically here. They could be at the warehouse. So I need to figure all of that out. But I am really good about communication, and I will let you all know right away. All right, so it is almost 12. Any last minute thoughts so that we can end on time?
No, thank you so much, Stephanie.
Oh, you're so welcome. I can't wait to meet you in person,
Yes,
and
come by.
hopefully you invite me to your campus so that we can, model, maybe have a math journaling PLC.
I think that would be great. I think that's how I'm going to start this off.
Absolutely.
For second grade.
Please let me know if you can send me an invite sooner rather than later. I can put it on my calendar, and then that way anything that comes up will not conflict.
Okay, sounds great.
All righty. I'm S. Vann. Yes, Mary?
Oh, nothing. Sorry.
Okay, you were unmuted, so I
I'm
wasn't
sorry.
sure. Okay, let me see. Ah, now I can see your faces. It's always weird presenting and like no one's there. Amber, you're there. All right. Oh, is it Galen or Jalen? Galen. Okay, awesome.
I was just multitasking. That's why you couldn't see me.
No problem. No problem. But this virtual is weird because I've met people in person with the mask on, and I've introduced myself. They're like, "Oh, I know you." I'm like, "You do?" Because so it's so weird, but I look forward to meeting you guys in person, and hopefully you enjoy today's PD, and I'll be following up with you all. All right. Have a wonderful day. Happy New Year. 2021 has to be better than 2020. So if we all feel that in our spirit, it will be. All right.
Thanks, Stephanie.
Yes, ma'am. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye. Have a good one.
You too.